There are games that everybody knows, but then there are games that nobody knows, yet somehow amass a huge following. These are what we like to call cult games. They are games that were overshadowed by some other massive game that came out at the same time, they did not have a wide release, or they were just way ahead of their time. The professors here at GamerU went through much debate when deciding the top 10 cult games, and here they are. Number 10, Papers, Please. This looks like an old DOS game, but it actually came out in 2013. This old-style game puts you in the shoes of a border patrol agent, and it's up to you to decide who's allowed in or out. Many people you'll meet will want to get in to see their families, find work, or just start a new life. However, if you let the wrong people in, your family will suffer the consequences. Papers, Please tells a gripping story of humanity that is certain to teach us many lessons in life. Number 9, Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable is one of those games that is hard to describe unless you've played it. The game's focus is on a first-person narrative where you travel around a house, facility, or underground lab to discover the story that is going on with the person you're playing or not playing. It tends to be very convoluted, but the experience of the game is what really made it an underground hit. Number 8, Slender. The Slender Man sensation started out as a contest on a forum site and spread into its very own urban legend. He became so infamous that a game was built around the legend. The game brings the horror genre into a different light. You're traveling around a mysterious forest and slowly being chased by Slender Man. You have no weapons, no way of fighting, and the only method you have of defending yourself is to run. It's incredible how such a simple game will give you horrific nightmares. Number 7, Psychonauts. Nobody knows Underground like Tim Schafer, the creator of Grim Fandango and Brutal Legend. Psychonauts is the pinnacle of the cult games that Tim Schafer created. With so much demand for a sequel that even Mojang said they'd pay $5 million to fund a sequel. The game's fun action, platforming, and multiple changing gameplay mechanics combined with the comedic storytelling is how this game became a hit with so many people. Number 6, Persona 4. In Persona 4, you play as a high school kid who has to solve murders with his friends in their magical personas in an alternate dimension at night. The game is immersive with you dealing with mundane high school tasks such as homework, tests, and hanging out with your friends. Then the game will turn into a normal RPG with its in-depth battle system, dungeon exploration, and a great story. The game's remake, Persona 4 Golden, includes extra features and even got its own anime adaptation. Number 5, Shenmue. When this game first came out in the SEGA Dreamcast, it was revolutionary. Shenmue had a real active time. People walking around making the world alive, a focus on gathering information to search for your father's killer, an RPG fighting mechanic, and a ton of minigames. It garnered great reviews at the time of its release, but the sales didn't do well. SEGA managed a sequel which left a cliffhanger for a third and final game, but it never came to pass. Many fans are still hoping that Shenmue 3 will come out someday. Number 4, Spec Ops: The Line. Military shooters are the most popular games in the industry. They glorify the combat of war with great set pieces, making the player feel invincible and unstoppable. Spec Ops: The Line started out as a generic shooter game, but it surprised everyone as the game progressed. Unlike other games that use a dialogue bar to make choices, this game uses its mechanics to make the choices in the game. That's where the narrative really stood out. You're faced with the horrors of war, and it gives so many twists and turns that it even makes you question why you play these games in the first place. However, this modern adaptation of Heart of Darkness is truly loved by those who played it. Number 3, PANZER DRAGOON SAGA. This would be Sega's greatest ambition for the Saturn. It came out during the end of the console's life cycle, and only 30,000 copies were made. The game was a huge risk taker for Sega. Panzer Dragoon really pushed the system's capabilities with stunning graphics that look like oil paintings and a language that developers created from the ground up. The game also had a very dramatic and deep storyline with gameplay that uses a ton of strategy. Panzer Dragoon Saga is still in demand today, but it'll cost a pretty penny of at least $300. Number 2, Ico. Ico is another game where you just can't describe what makes this game great. It could be the way the minimalistic gameplay is used to solve the puzzles, it could be the level design, or how impressive the game looks for its time. One thing that really stood out is the narrative. Aiko is a boy who is cast out by his village for being different. He then meets his princess, Yorba, caged for her power. They share a bond, need to escape, then fall in love, and this whole story is done with very little cutscenes. The game tells a subtle story through gameplay alone, making it one of the most immersive games ever made. Number 1, EARTHBOUND. You can't get more underground than EARTHBOUND, known as Mother 2 in Japan. You play as Ness in his journey to stop an alien force from turning everything evil. It's one of the first JRPGs not to have a random battle encounter, unique set of weapons that are everyday tools such as frying pans and bats, and its story of friendship makes it a great game to play. The wacky words and dialogue makes this game's story as entertaining as it is playing it. The game garnered great reviews, but it didn't sell well in North America. Its fan base slowly grew over time, especially when Ness was featured as a character in Super Smash Bros. It became a cultural phenomenon within the gaming community, with so many fan fiction, art, and websites dedicated to this one game. The fandom alone makes this game deserving of the number 1 spot on this list. Hope you gained some knowledge in these underground games and come back next week for another top 10 list right here at GamerU.